But speaking of woke, Dago, Lefty, Emma, I didn't expect the jump from using the term woke to being explicitly anti-people of color. I noticed the wake of these banks collapsing, conservatives now new favorite pastime is to scroll through the board of directors to find the one person who is slightly tanned to blame it on the collapse. Look, I tweeted it's like, it's easy shorthand to understand when people say they're anti-woke is just substitute wokeness for blackness. And I got a lot of pushback, a lot of critique of that. But I think
by the anti-woke freaks that are like actually secretly bigots.
Well, I mean, you've said this to me before. Like, there's just a kind of way more people that shit on me in my replies, I feel like, than my other colleagues. Mm-hmm. But I think it's gotten worse since Elon's taken over. And I also think that my public critique of Taibbi is attracting this new cohort of people that are going after that. But I mean, I think it's fairly indisputable.
I feel like two things actually. The first is I feel like my clout has just been down since Elon Musk took over. I'm not getting the kind of engagement that I want. And I suspect it's because in order for him to get as much engagement artificially as he gets, he has to take it from somewhere. It's a zero-sum game. So, if eyeballs are on his tweet, they aren't on someone else's, i.e. mine. But that's neither here nor there. It's an observation. It's an observation. I mean, hey, maybe a scientific one, but
something people should look into.
I think that the woke thing, it definitely started off as explicitly black, but I think it grew to be an even more nebulous term as people started to also use it to encompass that what used to be just SJWs, because the sort of the group that we used to describe as college SJW blue hair types, and that just shows really how nebulous descriptor it's become. Because some people still mean it in its anti-black way specifically, and some people now mean it in its just general anti-zoomer college student online way. But at the core of it, we know where it started with. We know where it started with beyond the sort of black people using it amongst themselves. But it started as right-wing groups online, essentially mocking the ways in which black people describe staying aware of fucking structural racism. And what people want you to do is forget that that's where they're deriving that term from. It's not the way that black people use it. It's the way that far right demagogues make fun of black people for using it. Yeah. And then an expansion of that to be all groups who just want, to be treated better.
Yeah, but right. even the cultural use of it has gotten it always has been, obviously, but even that, you had mentioned, they used to just describe Zoomers or whatever, but even when you see people using that word outside of politics, it's always just oh, black person in movie, cast in movie. Oh, it's a woke movie now. Oh, it's a woke movie now. It's obvious. It's so obvious what they mean by it.
It feels like it's now the antithesis to American racist nostalgia. Anything that goes against what people who are in their let's just be honest, any age now, it's not even older people. It's people who pretend they can harken back to a 1950s that just simply didn't exist. Anything that stands in contrast to their imagined version of what America should or used to be is now described as woke. Mm-hmm. It's there are women in college now, that's woke. And that's how it's it's the term of ideologues, people who haven't been forced to actually carve out the boundaries on what it does and doesn't encompass. And it's just used as a scapegoat for all the things wrong with or rather all things they perceive to be wrong with the modern world and how it negatively affects them.
Being anti-woke is a rebranded lost cause thing, honestly, right? So, yeah. But
yeah, where did all that sentiment go?
Yes.
Right. Brandon, you had mentioned social justice warriors, SJWs, and it's interesting because that vernacular is gone. Yeah, it's gone. Because I think it's gone because it was at this, by the time we got post-Gamergate 2016, it was just synonymous with right-wing online circles, where woke has been, I think, more readily adopted by just people in, maybe we just shows how far we've come since the SJW is adopted, but it seems woke is used more by people in the real media all the time, right. Uncritically. They just uncritically use the word without defining it, without making anyone else define it, without explaining its origins as a word. They just go, yep, this is woke. New woke law in scare quotes as the New York Post headlines. And it's just that's just a
a part of our public intellectual sphere that people don't like actually demand anyone define their terms now. But, you just see it more and more with these kinds of like dog whistles.
Well, and that woman, Bethany Mandel, I guarantee you she's gone on a right-wing talk shows to promote her book and said the same thing, that same sentence over and over about wokeness. And it was the first time that she got any pushback when on Rising they said, Brianna said that, can you define wokeness? It's just the simplest question, and that's what caused her to short circuit, because this ecosystem, there's nobody asking anyone to define it.
Well, far right groups want you to be confused about what they're talking about explicitly. That's how you end up with people going to the January 6th rally and being like, I just thought it was a free speech thing, or like the Charlottesville rally, and like, just earnestly, if misguidedly, thinking it's a free speech thing, because they want you to be confused about the terms that they use. They want you to think that they mean one thing while they mean the other. And that's why, people who are intellectually curious or rigorous will oftentimes be, oh, can you define that for me real quick? Can you tell me a little bit about that word or that book you're reading or that person you're talking about beyond just what like it the explicit, shallow reading of it? But in right-wing circles, they want you to be like, they want people to be able to imprint whatever they want on that word, because they're afraid of explicitly saying the racist or bigoted thing and spooking the suckers, essentially. Just like what Donald Trump was going to do in the Republican Party, you get afraid if you say like what woke or anti-woke really means, that you're going to be, scaring off the people who are just not as racist as you need them to be fully aligned with all of your fascist goals.